First, there was darkness, and then there was light. A light bulb, to be exact. Introducing your hosts. The mathematical genius whose name literally means God, Ishwar Venkataswamy. The adventurous baker who miraculously survived after being bitten by an albino kangaroo in Australia, Savvy Clemens. And the freshman, Jason Yang. Welcome to the LightBulb.
Hi, I'm Ishu.
I'm Sabby.
And I'm Jason. But hold on for a second. Why do you guys all get super cool introductions and all I got was the freshman?
Well, we'd like it to be accurate.
Anywho, you've reached the LightBulb, the unofficial podcast network of Phillips Academy Andover.
Here, we'll explore a plethora of the lives of our fellow plebs. And during the solemn time of corona-cation, we hope to bring Andover's student body comedic light and informative entertainment.
Additionally, we will share complaints and stories given to us by our listeners about their lives at home, along with interviews with some of Andover's familiar faces.
Take a look at our show notes to find our social media, ways you can join the LightBulb, and links to our recommended TikToks of the week.
All right, with that out of the way, let's first address the elephant in the room, shall we?
Yes, the coronavirus has completely changed our entire way of living. Now, most of us live under quarantine, attend online classes, and do everything from home, all due to the epidemic.
Additionally, the many travel restrictions and inconveniences caused by the disease have become quite the headache for many international students.
Yes, as a matter of fact, I actually have a story about that. So I was in Boston at one of my friend's house for spring break when coronavirus started getting serious, and fortunately I was, fortunate enough to get a last-minute plane ticket back to Shanghai. As I stepped into the airport on the day of the flight, I saw that the airport was full of travelers from all over the world trying to get back to their homes. And since my flight was taking off in a short bit, I quickly got past check-in and went in this long line for security. Funny thing is, because of the virus, each person needed to have their temperature taken before they were allowed to enter. And instead of using a thermometer, which would have taken forever, they use this gun-shaped laser shooting device and they point it at your forehead, which is supposedly able to measure your temperature through the air. I know it sounds like something that came, straight out of a Star Wars movie, but that's actually how they did it.
My grandpa has one.
Very interesting.
To measure the pool temperature.
Oh, God.
Without going outside.
Oh, no. So I get in line, right? And I was nearly at the front of the line. And the guy who was lined up in front of me, who was this white dude, steps up to the security guard to get his temperature taken. And the security guard, who is this middle-aged woman, pulls out the gun, wielding it as if it was some sort of master Jedi weapon, pointed it at his forehead. She pulls the trigger, beep, looks at the temperature, and without a second look at the guy who's standing in front of me, said in the most professional voice possible, 37 degrees Celsius, normal body temperature, please move along. And the guy just, walked away and proceeded to walk through security. And I was next up. So I thought, there's nothing to be nervous about, just my temperature is no big deal. So I just stepped up to the same security guard and waited for my temperature to be taken. Strangely enough, and this is really weird, she did not immediately pull out the Master Jedi gun. Instead, her eyes did a slow and thorough scan of my face. And she asked, "Sir, where are you flying back? Where are you from?" I said, Shanghai. I'm from Shanghai, and I'm flying back there. And instantly, you could see, she became wary. Her voice tightened. She was like, Shanghai. Oh, okay, interesting. Shanghai, you say. Which one? And I said, ma'am, the one, like, The one in China? Which other one? Shanghai, China? And the moment I said China, I noticed her eyes shift. It was extremely subtle, but I noticed. She said, Shanghai, China. I was like, yes. And she's like, isn't that where the virus, you know what, sir? Let me just take your temperature. So I was like, sure, whatever you want. And she pulls out the laser gun, finally pointed it towards my forehead. And let me tell you, never in my life have I felt so satisfied and complete to have been held at gunpoint. And she pulls the trigger. And that's the end of my... I'm kidding. She pulls the trigger. And looked towards the temperature being displayed on the device. And she started staring at it. And she stared at it for a while. And then she turns towards me and started staring at me. Then she looked back at the temperature. And then she turned back and stared at me again. And my heart thumped. I was scared, Inside I was thinking to myself, oh, what if I actually had a fever? What if my forehead somehow significantly increased in temperature within the last 3 seconds when the gun was being shot? Even worse, could the gun have been a real gun and I'm actually dead and just hallucinating? Could this whole reality just be a lie or a simulation? Oh my God, Elon Musk was right. And meanwhile, as those crazy thoughts were going on inside my head, security guard was still looking at the temperature on the gun and looking back at me and back at the gun, and finally she showed me the temperature on the gun and said to me, young man, what does that say? I looked at the temperature and you know what it said? Do you know what it said? It said 36.8 degrees Celsius. 36.8. What was there? Why was she so nervous? Like, with the uttermost sense of confusion, I replied, that just says 36.8. She went, yeah, 36.8? That's a bit high. Huh? Especially for you. And I was like,
oh my God.
How is that high? The dude in front of me got 37.0, and you said that was normal. 36.8 is less than 37. And since when was 36.8 a high body temperature? Huh? What? I don't understand. Is it because I'm
China? Isn't that where the virus,
Oh. You know what? Virus, okay. I understand. And she's like, yeah, it's, for security purposes, we might have to, take your temperature again, just to double check that you are healthy and safe. It's for the safety of your own being. And I was just like, yeah, you know what? I truly appreciate it. And then she took my temperature again. This time it was 36.6. And she's like, she let me go, And right before I left, she said, well, on the plane ride, you're going back to Shanghai, right? There's gonna be a lot of potential health risks on the plane. You might want to, just be careful and don't get the virus. And I'm like, oh, hopefully I won't get the virus on the plane. And she turned towards me and in the slickest way possible, she said, young man, hope is not a strategy. And then I just walked through, and that was my experience going back to China.
And next up, we are going to have a chat with one of our fellow Andover peers.
In fact, he is not only a student at Phillips Academy, but also a future co-president of the student body. Please welcome Salvador Gómez.
Hello, Salvador. Hello. This is work.
Yes.
Super glad we were able to get everything together.
Yes. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for coming. So my first question right at the bat is so Salvador, how does it feel to be the perfect man?
I wouldn't know.
Well, wait, do you not know? So we looked up your name on the Urban Dictionary, and here's the definition.
Salvador is the perfect man. Truly, he's intelligent and handsome, witty and wise, respectful and fun, ambitious and spontaneous, and so much more. Words can't describe him well enough. He'll take your breath away, make your heart race, send your butterflies fluttering, and all without even trying. He's absolutely stellar. And when you look at him and how he is and what he's done, and what he wants to be. You'll have to pick your jaw up off the floor because he's amazing, and you can't help but be astonished. If you encounter a Salvador and you manage to make him yours, don't ever let him go. You'll never find another man like him, though you'd try all your life.
I mean, I appreciate the praises. I really do. I really do. I
Yes.
think, you just got to be yourself. Just got to be yourself. I mean, I don't know if when this definition was written, I don't know if it's kind of about me or I mean, I'm Salvador the Fourth, so it could be talking about me, my dad, my grandfather, my great-grandfather, right? It's not
Yes.
talking about my kid yet because my kid hasn't been born. But
Right,
if he is a boy, he will be named Salvador. I feel like my great-grandfather told me that before he died. I'm like, okay, I gotta stick with this. But yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty
course.
funny. I mean, I've seen some very questionable things on Urban Dictionary. Many things that I don't agree with. Hey, I think this one's a pretty nice one.
So you would agree with this definition?
You see, I plead the fifth there. I'll plead the fifth on that one. I
It's
just have to
okay,
say
because-
it's very sound advice.
Yes.
So, we wanted to ask about your appearance in the Marvel's Hero Project because, I mean, of course, it's amazing. I saw it on a lot of people's Instagram stories. And I was wondering if you could explain to us how you helped out after the flood in Puerto Rico.
Sure. Yeah. So in 2017, September 2017, Hurricane Maria hit Puerto Rico, and the whole island was left in a whole blackout. My whole house was flooded. I lost my bedroom, my sister's bedroom, my mom's bedroom, our living room. Everything was flooded and full of black mold. And what I thought to be really bad was actually I was relatively well off considered to most people. A lot of people had lost their homes, their roofs had flown out, they'd lost all their belongings. They didn't have power. Luckily, I had a generator, but that was pretty much it. So kind of in all this emotion, all this turmoil that I'm feeling, I founded Light and Home for Puerto Rico, which was my mission to distribute solar lamps and hand-powered washing machines to the most affected communities around Puerto Rico. So we ended up raising over $170,000 to distribute over 5,000 lamps and 2,000 washing machines to over 3,500 households across 17 different towns of Puerto Rico.
That's incredible.
That's
cool.
actually very cool. Yeah.
So, have you watched your episode on Disney Plus yet?
I have to say that, so how it worked, I mean, this is something that we've been filming since September. This whole process started maybe September of 2018. So I just got into Andover and all this all started. So it was definitely hard. And it wasn't really hard to keep it secret. Really, very few people knew. And it was very, very few. I'd say like 3 people knew. 3 of my friends at Andover. Part of it is because I had to sign a non-disclosure agreement, 5 of them. One for Disney, one for the production company, because here's the thing, I knew that Disney Plus was going to come out before Disney Plus came out. That was one of the agreements I had to sign.
Oh,
That's
Because they told me this is for
Insider scoop.
Disney's. Yeah. So this is a process that took a long time to kind of come to fruition. We started filming first time was winter break of lower year. Then for a day or two, we were just doing some scouting. Then we filmed for 5 days during spring break. And those were intense. I felt so exhausted. People think that being on camera is just this glamorous thing. It is really not. It's really not. Because basically what we were doing was, pretty much 14, 15-hour days, 8 a.m. to 11, 12 p.m., 12 a.m., I guess, every day for 5 days, filming all around Puerto Rico. We drive around, walking around. It was really fun. Now the question was watching it. So in October, they bought me a train ticket to go to Marvel HQ in New York and watch the episode with my mom. And I went to watch it. That was the week. It was the Monday of Parents Weekend. So I took a train back to New York. My mom, after Parents Weekend, we watched it. I was just it felt so weird. So weird. So I have this thing where it's really hard for me to listen to myself or watch myself. It's just awkward for me. I mean, I think it's awkward for all of us. Seeing yourself, first of all, the way you hear your voice isn't the way that other people hear it. So when you hear that, it's just weird. The second of all, just seeing me, my face move, I'm this is some Inception type stuff. I feel like I'm in a dream. But we finished the episode and said, this is real. This is it. I was like, damn, it's pretty cool. And then I watched in October. This didn't come out until February, but I also kept it under wraps for all this time. one of the biggest issues was how I had filmed at my old school here in Puerto Rico. So no one in Andover really knew. Literally, I said like 3 people knew. But back home in Puerto Rico, everyone knew. Because I had gone to my old school and filmed there for a day. All the kids were talking about it. News media was picking it up. Like everyone was just, talking about this kid who was in this Disney stuff. And I had to keep it under wraps. I was like, don't worry, be patient, it's coming. And then eventually February came. And that day, I remember what happened was that we came out of ASM, it was a Friday, and I saw that Marvel posted it on their Instagram, which was crazy because Marvel Instagram has a couple million followers. And I just put it on my story, as I usually do, just put it on my story. And 20 minutes later, I had notifications off for Instagram because it's distracting. And I'm having lunch and I open my phone and it's like 106 stories mentioned me. I'm like, what? And I just checked and it's just so many people just reposted the Marvel post on their story. I was like, this is insane. And I was like, my God, this doesn't end. And then I get all these texts and everything. I was like, this is crazy. And then, yeah, it was pretty crazy day. I remember I was like, whoa. And then that night I sat with my roommate and we watched the episode. And my house counselor watched the episode with his daughters and his wife and their cat.
After that experience, which was, clearly it's amazing. It's huge, and you got mentioned a lot. We also found out that you were on Time's, is it top 30 most influential teens? Was that before or after the?
Before Marvel. That was when I was 15.
Okay.
And I was
wow.
my freshman year of high school.
That must have been also quite a big deal.
That was a crazy big deal. And so let me tell you how it happened. Basically, I'm leaving my school. I'm leaving school. I'm walking to my house from a New York number. I'm like, hello? It's like, oh yes, my name is Ashley Hoffman. I work for Time Magazine. I was like, yo, you caught me off guard. I'm walking to my house. I'm sweaty. I just came out of school. What's going on? I'm like, hi. And then they just tell me, they're like, yeah, so, we can't be on the phone right now, but we're going to send you a couple questions for you to answer. Please have them back to us by 6 p.m. I was like, yo, it's 3. I checked, so I'm like, okay, sure, send me them. I get to my house, and it's 30 questions. And they literally said, minimum 300 words each. 30 questions in 3 hours. I was like, what am I going to do? What am I going to, first of all, they gave me no heads up. Second of all, usually these interviews are held in it's person to person. I'm like, okay, then. So I just got to my house. I'm like, Mom, I got to do this. I'm doing this now. So I basically crammed that, grinded that out. I wrote all the answers to questions. I sent to her. She's like, okay, thank you. Okay. So what's the wave? What's going on? 3 weeks later, I get this email from her. So in 3 weeks, I didn't hear back from her. None of us knew what was going on with that article or whatever. I get this email from her. I'm in the middle of school day. I get this email from her saying, congratulations, you made the list. Period. Thank you, Ashley. I was like, okay. So I'm in the bathroom. I left class. I left class. I'm in the bathroom checking my phone. I was like, what list? I opened the link. She hyperlinked the link, and it says Time Magazine's 30 most influential teens of 2017. I was like, what? I was like, this is not me. And then I scrolled through the list. There's Maddie Ziegler. There's Millie Bobby Brown. There's Khalid. There's Shawn Mendes, and then there's me. And I was like, what? And then I called my dad. My mom was currently on a flight, so I couldn't call her, but I called my dad. I'm like, Papa, I'm on this list, dude. He's like, what? What list? What is this list? I sent him the link. He's like, oh, this is fake, Salva. This is fake. I'm like, oh no. This isn't fake. This is real. This is real. It's like, no, it's one of your pranks. I'm like, no. First of all, I haven't pranked you since I was 13. And second of all, this is not a prank. This is real. So basically, he looks it up, and then it basically blew up, and it was crazy. That was one of the first moments I was like, this is just, what did I get involved in? I mean, I'm obviously super grateful for all the press coverage and the media coverage and attention, because I feel like it really sheds a light on the importance of youth getting involved in youth activism. And I think that a lot of times when we see young people, you see something like, oh, we can't do much because we're young, because we're not mature enough, some people think we're not responsible enough, but the reality of it is that we can do stuff, and there's a lot of stories to prove it, including mine. And now, with COVID and the climate crisis and all that, that's another crazy thing, the transition. So when I started the climate crisis, like climate activism and all that wasn't very big, but I kind of became like, I was grandfathered into the cause, I guess, because I had been there before it got really big, before, Greta started being more outspoken and really getting on the international stage. So I was kind of just like, I was there, and then they're like, okay, so I guess you're a climate activist now. I'm like, wait a second. That's not how this started. I was a change maker. I was just doing stuff. And that was a whole process that I obviously witnessed myself. And I was like, well, this is interesting. But yeah, it was worth it. Definitely a super worth it experience. It was super nice. I mean, people that I was able to, meet, have dinner, lunch, breakfast with, and have conversations with, meet, all that was just exhilarating. I don't think I've ever felt so small in my life, because the people that I just bumped shoulders with was just insane. And it was an amazing experience. But it also shows us, right, the power of just, working together for just create, for any idea, right? And working together in that non-city spirit for others, the power that we can have and the influence that we can have, and the positive impact we can have on others. And like, this isn't like a coincidence. This is because, I wasn't just there because, I don't know, because of a coincidence, right? It's because the effort and the blood, sweat, and tears that I put in to help others, I feel like it really has to do with why you do it. And intention is really important when you do this kind of stuff. You have to do it because you really want to. You have no idea how many friends I have that after I've started my thing and kind of, people started finding out about it and whatever and whatnot. I mean, you guys have talked about it, but they started, oh my God, I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to launch this initiative, I want to do that. And so I'm like, yeah, sure, like, do it. They started calling me out, like, can you help me? And I probably helped like 20 friends of mine. They wanted to launch their nonprofits or whatever, and I called to them, and a month later, just the idea was gone. I'm like, what happens? Like, oh, I can't do this. It's too much for me. And I'm like, it is a lot. It is a lot, but it's really about intention. And if you have the drive and you have the passion, you'll be able to do it. But it's with anything. I mean, that's a life lesson. You have the drive, you have the passion, anything is possible, but you just got to have that in there.
You can do anything if you put in the work.
Indeed, I agree.
Absolutely.
Put in the work, success will follow.
Yes, yes.
Things I said in my Marvel interview, that's what they decided to quote me on.
Well, it's very true. And it shows once again, because recently, of course, everyone knows this, but recently you've been elected as with Megan Sway as our next pair of Andover School co-presidents. So congratulations on that. Very exciting indeed.
Do you think?
For the record, I actually voted for you. I know this is supposed to be confidential, but just to show my loyalty, I voted for you.
Well, I appreciate that, Jason. I appreciate that, Jason.
Of course.
It means a lot. It means a lot.
Yes, thank you very much.
I can say the same.
Yes, of course.
Well, I appreciate it, but I appreciate it, guys. I think that, props also goes to Jack and Summer. I think the four of us were very committed to this process, and we had a lot of fun during it, doing it and all that, and being able to do all that. I think that the four of us are really into it, and Jack and Summer did also a great job. So I understand what you guys said, and I appreciate that, but I think that,
yeah, totally.
all the pairs who ran really put in a lot of effort and work, and
yeah, definitely.
So I'm very proud of everyone.
Yes, I would definitely agree with that. And speaking of, your role as a future school co-president, what are your plans for the student body, or in general, about what we should do during this period of, uncertainty during the COVID-19 crisis, and especially like, what if school does not resume next fall? Because that is a possibility. So what would happen if school doesn't resume in the fall, and what do you think you would do about that?
Well, I think that, the first thing I can say is that, these conversations are already happening. I think that the school has been very proactive, and I'm very happy with the way the school has managed all this. They've been very proactive, very efficient, and very transparent with everything, which I think is great. They've said what they need to say. They prioritize our well-being, they prioritize teachers' well-being, staff well-being, which I think is the first thing, that we have to commend and be grateful for. I think, the first thing, Megan and I are really trying to get back to normalcy as soon as possible, right? We're trying to actually tomorrow, which is, this is on Thursday, but on tomorrow we have the virtual ASM that we're going to send out. I mean, it's just going to be very simple. It's just speeches from Megan and I, from Sebastian and Shahinda, Miss Elliott, Mr. Venti, administration officials and all that, but we're looking to get this, this is the exact same thing. We're trying to get this back to normal. We actually also tomorrow we're sending out class rep information for the elections for class representatives, which is also going to be a really cool thing, trying to get that normalcy going on. I mean, we're going to need a student council regardless of if we go back or not. I think that student council is really important because I think we really are not only the voice of the students in terms of the administration, but I think it goes beyond that. We do things independently that also help the student body. I feel like a lot of times people just see like the whole working with the administration thing. I think that there's a lot of things the student council can do, for the students that aren't necessarily that big. I think that our platform that we ran on, Megan and I, was really about that. There was the big stuff and there was also the smaller stuff that has a big impact. It doesn't really depend on a lot of chains of command and emails and all that we can work on. I think that if we don't go back, I'm going to be honest, we really hope that we do go back.
Yes, of course.
I mean, it's already super sad that we're missing spring, but we have to adapt. And I feel like the Andover community has been very good at adapting. We've been able to do well at this. I think that, we're trying to right now, what we're trying to do is just focus on getting this, back up and running as normal as, to normal as soon as possible. I don't know. I don't know right now what's going to happen because I think we're banking on right now is that we are going back in the fall, or if not in the fall, in September and October. No one has that information yet. Literally, the world is currently just clouded with uncertainty. But regardless of what happens, I think that Megan and I are committed to making sure that everyone, stays safe, stay positive, stays connected, and we're definitely, actively working to find ways to keep the Andover community as strong as it has always been, even during these tough times. I think that, all of us are going through our own, our own hassles. This hasn't been easy for anyone. And it's definitely been something none of us imagined. I mean, if you would have told me nearly 4 months ago that I wouldn't have an upper spring, you would have told the seniors that they would have had a senior spring, that the whole world would be on lockdown and you'd have thousands of people dying, hundreds of thousands getting infected with COVID-19. I mean, it would have been like nobody would have expected. I mean, maybe a few like the government, but the public wouldn't have. And definitely that's not something we were thinking about. But I think the biggest priority right now is, making sure we keep the Big Blue family going on strong, regardless of what happens.
Yeah, totally. I completely agree with that. And thank you, of course, for representing the student body to help us get back to a sense of, normalcy, hopefully.
Of course, our pleasure. I think that, we're really, we're trying to foster a sense of unity as much as we can in these uncertain times, and really trying to get, all of us involved and all of us together as much as we can, without obviously being too overbearing. But I think that all of us appreciate that. I mean, I appreciate that. I every night, I'll call my friends and text them and snap and whatnot and see how they're doing. I think that's the biggest thing right now is we have to stay in touch. We have to keep talking to people. We have to, see, the light at the end of the tunnel, quite literally. I think that's really important. We have to. If not, we're not going to keep saying. I mean, it's hard to think about that. It's really hard, and I don't blame anyone for just seeing this completely negatively. It's a hard time for the entire world and for Andover and for students and everyone. But I think that we just need to focus on the positives, even no matter how much or how few there are. But I think that if we stay together, we'll definitely move past this and we'll be able to come back stronger.
That's a very inspiring message.
It's definitely running for co-pres is an amazing experience. I encourage anyone who wants to do it to do it. I think that it's always the reason why you have, pairs of people, kind of set themselves up and open up and be willing to do this is because they really want to do this. And I think the first thing you have to do is have the drive and have the passion, which is my motto for everything. And I've mentioned it before. It's really, I don't know. I mean, if you would have told me when I came here as a new lower that I would end up being school president, I would not have believed you. I would have been like, nah, that's impossible, right? And you lower school co-president. I've been here a year less than everyone has. Not to, I mean, just the fact that I was like just super confused. When you come into Andover, it's just so overwhelmed by so many things. It's crazy. I think that, I don't know. I really don't know. I really don't know what your odds would be, or from 1 to 10. I'd say that they are as high as you want them to be, and as high as you put in the work for them to be. I think that's really important. You just have to put in the work, and success will follow. Yeah. I think that the other thing is that, school president aren't the only leadership positions available on campus. There's so many proctorships, prefectships, cluster offices, DC reps, EBI, seniors or uppers, and even just, voicing your concerns and being active in the student body, that's enough. That already makes a big impact. We really look for having these conversations with people and get to know them and get to have your feedback and get to, catch your ideas and also get to know you as a person. I think that that's something that people miss out on a lot. And I really don't want us, Meg and I really don't want people to see us, next year's freshmen see us on the Cochrane in the chapel stage and be like, oh my God, these people are like, whoa. Like, no, we're just students. We've been through your path, right? We know what it's like. So I think that it really comes down to coming down and being there for everyone and all that.
We've heard about his past and what he plans for his future. But why don't we hear how Sal is doing currently?
What foods are you enjoying during quarantine?
That's exactly what I was going to bring up, food, because I know that you do a lot of baking, Savvy. So I was just thinking about that. So unfortunately here, it's a complete lockdown. I've been in my house for the past 6 weeks, have not left, can't even go outside. So my food diversity is quite limited, but I'm fortunate enough to be able to have consistent access to food and groceries and all. So I'm grateful for that. I've been eating a lot of rice and beans. I mean, I think that's like a staple here in Puerto Rico, but a lot of rice, a lot of plantains, cooking up those plantains. They're really, really yummy. It's kind of become like the staple. It's like once every other day. Pasta, lots of pasta, making a lot of pancakes in the mornings too. Learning to make. I mean, I've learned to make pancakes.
You just learned?
Savvy is a pro.
You see, Savvy. Here's the thing. When I was growing up, I wasn't a very culinary. How do you say it? I'm trying to find the exact phrasing for this. I wasn't a culinary savant. You see, I wasn't very in touch with my culinary skills. I was great at doing the dishes. You see, here at my house, it's kind of like everyone has responsibilities. So my sisters would cook and I would do the dishes because I had zero cooking skills. But this quarantine has taught me, a lot of stuff. So I've learned how to cook. My cooking abilities, my culinary abilities have grown significantly since I started this quarantine. Make some tortillas in the mornings, make some pancakes, make French toast.
So just breakfast. You're still stuck on breakfast.
No, I mean, hey, I said I made some rice and beans and pasta. That's still the basics. I did some lasagna the other day. I made some lasagna, but I got it all right, except that I didn't cook it enough. So my mom had to come and she's like, yo, this is still hard. Like the layers were still hard. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. So we had to cook it.
It's okay. But you can achieve anything if you put through the work.
Yes, you put in the work, success will follow.
Yes.
You gotta accept your vulnerabilities. That's a huge thing in life. You have to accept things you're not good at.
Yes,
when I came to this quarantine, I said, if it were up to me and the world depended on my culinary abilities, everyone would starve or get salmonella, one of the two. Now I'm confident in my ability to say that people will neither starve nor get salmonella because of my culinary abilities.
They'll just have bland food.
Yes.
I have a great grilled cheese recipe.
Grilled cheese? You see, that's where it started all. Everything started with my grilled cheese. Dad used to make these really good grilled cheeses. Instead of toasting them, you put them on a pan.
Yes, same.
Right? So you put the bread, you put butter, and then you put bread.
Isn't that how everybody cooks a grilled cheese?
And then you put cheese on top of it. And then you make a sandwich?
What you do. That's exactly what you do. But you see, unfortunately, unlike, Savvy and Jason, we're not culinary savants. So this type of stuff is awe-inspiring for us. Make a grilled cheese on a pan. Whoa.
I feel like that's easier than the toaster because then you don't really have to time anything. Like to get your cheese melted. It's up to you.
That's true. That's true. You have more control. But I think sometimes you just gotta have faith. You gotta let go of control. You can't micromanage. You can't just be all over stuff. You just gotta go with the flow.
Yes. It's because in a way, cooking is kind of just like real life. If you think about it, there's gonna be setbacks, but you just have to work through them, and eventually you'll get there.
I disagree, but
Hey, I'm trying to say something inspirational here.
cooking is an art, baking is a science. If you can follow basic instructions, you're set.
Just like real life.
True. That is true. I have to say that when I started making pancakes, I wasn't thinking like that. I was like, how the hell am I gonna make sure this batter doesn't burn too much, or like mix the eggs properly and add enough butter and add enough milk? But it's really an equation. It's science. It's math. It's very basic.
Wait, I have a cool question about cooking and baking.
So
you know how you said it was basically all equations? Well, my brother puts milk before the cereal, and I put cereal before the milk. Can you help me prove him wrong?
Okay, so here's this thing. There is this mathematical property called the commutative property. The commutative property, which says, it doesn't apply for this, but here's the thing. So it basically says 1 times 2 times 3 is going to be the same no matter if you do 1 times 2 first, and then that times 3, then 3 times 2, and then that times 1. It's very basic. Here's the thing. The commutative property only applies to numbers, not making cereal. So you have to add the cereal first and then the milk, because if you add the milk first and then you won't you might serve too much cereal, or you won't know I'm sorry. I think you just have to put the cereal before the milk, and that's it. For the milk. Cereal goes before milk.
Yes.
I strongly believe that.
I agree.
That ice goes before water, or ice goes before juice.
Well, that's just common sense.
Well, yeah, because then the ice will splash.
But then there's still people that put milk before cereal.
Okay,
Hey, but when you eat all the cereal, what do you do with milk? Throw it away? No, you drink it.
No, you drink it, but in the beginning.
Well, I personally put water in my cereal, but
You see, that's a very interesting phenomenon. I've never heard of that.
I'm allergic to milk.
The Andover is that you always learn new things, and you discover so many things you hadn't discovered before. I think that's...
Gotta think outside the box.
At commencement speech, I will say, if I learned one thing at Andover, it is that it is possible to put water in cereal. In all, now back to seriousness, I think that it's really important that we keep the hopes up and keep the positivity as much as we can. This is it's not an easy experience for any of us, but I think if we keep the positivity, we keep the hope alive, we stay together, we stay connected, we'll be able to go through this. I think, the good thing about this interview is that, serious on some aspects, funny on lighthearted on some others. I think that's great. That's exactly the spirit we want to have. We can't downplay the fact that, this pandemic is, hurting a lot of people, and it's definitely causing a huge impact on our world. But if we keep the right mindset, we'll be able to, stay well, stay safe, and stay positive.
Thank you, Salvador, so much for this interview. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Of course, my pleasure.
Oh, what an insightful and legendary interview that was.
Indeed, I felt like I sincerely learned a lot from Salvador just now, and it was truly insightful, and I'm very glad we got to have that conversation.
And now we would like to close with a fun riddle, or in other words, a thought-provoking exercise for your minds. We hope to give your brains a quarantine workout with our bi-weekly riddles. Now, if you get this riddle of the day right, the first person to contact us with the correct answer gets a $10 Amazon gift card.
Whoa!
If 9 plus 2 is 11, and 11 plus 3 is 2, what is 9 plus 4?
Hey, thanks for listening. You made it to the end. Spread our enlightening words at the speed of light to a fellow comrade who may be interested.
If you'd like to join our podcast team, slide into our DMs on Insta at thelightbulb.official. Our show notes and recommended TikToks for this week are linked up in the description.
It infamously took Thomas Edison 1,000 tries to invent the light bulb. We only have one shot, so don't let this flop.
This is the Light Bulb, and thank you for listening.